right, today I have Kevin Touch. He's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of Middle Road Energy, which is an energy drink that is intended to be exactly what it's called. It's middle of the road. It's trying to combat the extremes that you see in the marketplace and in the world today. Kevin, how's it going?
Good, man. Thank you for giving me an opportunity here. Found you guys out there, another energy drink company in a way, Running Lights Bev. So I wanted to pop on, see what Be Helpful is all about, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, like we talked in our pre-call, this podcast is intended to demystify entrepreneurship. The goal is to talk about what it's really like and talk about the experience. So let's get started with the fun question. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Yeah, when I was growing up, man, I honestly had no idea. Like many people, I was just a young kid, running around, loved sports. Really something in that area. But at the end of the day, not everyone's built 6'2", 250, for football or basketball. So I'm only a 5'8" kind of guy. So I figured it's not for me. But after the pandemic hit, I wanted to do something that was very health conscious. I've always been a big, I was not advocate, but just keeping your body in shape, keeping your wits about you in the health industry. And nowadays, you see everything like we were just talked about on the top of the show is extreme. And I said, let's try something different. Let's try to do a little bit of an energy drink that's cleaner for you, and it's also not going to be too crazy, right? It's down the middle of the road, and not just that, but I also do other things as well. Just help neighbors, cook, whatever, clean. You put me in a position. I just got to learn and adapt, right? 'Cause that's the great thing
Yeah.
about life. You don't have to just pick one thing. I think it's about four or five different things you can do, and that's kind of how I am. I'm the bad jack of all trades kind of guy. Maybe it's something way out in left field like architecture, but I still like to pick up on it and see if I can put myself in that position to help out. But now this is what I mainly do is energy drinks. But yeah, it's fun. We just went to an expo last week. It was real easy in terms of just getting people to come. They come to you. You got samples and you buy on the spot. Good opportunity to network with the community.
Yeah.
Um, but that's it, man. To answer your question, really didn't have anything concrete when I was younger, and I think life isn't meant to be, in place. It's nowadays it's very hard to be in place. There's multiple avenues, there's multiple runways, and age really doesn't matter. You can start anything at 20, 5, 10, 30. There's no bounds and limits to the modern day society for sure.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that mindset. And, like I said to our prep call, you're relatively young. And so I'm fascinated about how you've explored these interests of yours and how entrepreneurship is what you landed on. I know you dabbled into content creation and now you're into energy, energy drinks. Like, talk me a little bit through why entrepreneurship just kind of fit the mold for you.
Well, I think the one thing is you get that flexibility, but you really don't, and that's the one thing. Like, people think, oh, it's all about flexibility, but yeah, that's a perk. But really, I think the fact is you can be creative through entrepreneurship, and you make it fun, right? And having fun in the process is important. It's not just about it's 24/7,
Yeah.
business. You can't do that. You're going to find yourself not integrating any other things in your life, and you'll find yourself more at the end of the road, burnt out. And I wanted to say, well, what, let's find fun things within the process. And I think this is one of those industries where you can do things in the process. It's nice to have some where you can present to people. It's nice to go to events, sure, but that's, like I said, it's part of it. It's just finding like 5 and 6 different things. It doesn't have to be just drinks, right? Drinks is fun. Like, selling them's great. Meeting new people is incredible. Love all that, but you also have to think about yourself and say, well, what else can you do in the process of having fun,
Mhm.
enjoying life? If it's just business 24/7, then you're not going to get the results 24/7. You're just going to find yourself at, like I said, a crossroad. And when you're at a crossroads, you have no integration or no balance, and
Mhm.
it's just like a balance beam. It just starts tilting one way, and boom, all of a sudden you're falling over. So, in that instant, I wanted to be very calculated, very analytical on what I wanted to do. Not just drinks, but I do other things with community members.
Yeah.
Uh, just going out to my town, uh, even across the world, right? The United States, just meeting people online, getting to know what they're doing, just having those simple conversations. It keeps it fun, keeps me going, and I go to bed at night saying, no matter what, I did the job. Right, I did what I was supposed to do for that day, and we'll move on to the next day. And what new adventures are lie ahead, because not every 2 days are the same in this world. That's for one thing I've learned for sure, especially in the entrepreneurship world. I mean, one day could be nothing, the next day could be packed, the next day could be nothing. Yeah, it's this, right? It's the old roller coaster, but you just
Yeah,
have to embrace it, even when those days are nothing. You accept it, and know there's 24 hours tomorrow to make sure you can make it happen for sure.
yeah. No, I really like that mindset. I really like that thought process because it makes me think of entrepreneurship as this adventurous journey. Um, like you're just kind of hiking, right? You don't really
Yeah.
know what you're gonna encounter, but you know it's a fun ride. And I never really thought about it that way, especially coming from, you know, I took, I guess, the most well beaten path, which is, you know, you go up, you go to college, you go get a job, you work in corporate America for a little bit, you have an idea, and then you go into entrepreneurship. So it is very interesting, you know, hearing from you, you know, this exploration of passion and this exploration of, I just want to help people. So I want to help people in my community. I want to help people in their health and being conscious with the energy drinks. It is a um, it is very inspiring, and I really like the approach that you take with it.
Sure, sure, and that's it, right? If you help, the old sayings, if you help others win through subtle things that you're just not asking for anything in return, that's kind of how I view it. You just don't ask for anything in return. Just go out there, go to the people, go to the places with no intentions of improving yourself, but bettering them. Just
Mm.
clear cut like that. It'll come back around in a couple settings, right? It doesn't have to be tomorrow. It could be 10 years, but it'll come back around where one day they're going to be like, well, I still remember that guy doing that when he was XYZ. And you'll be surprised. It makes a difference. It makes impact, and it puts people on not really a playing field. It puts people in a different mindset. Like, maybe I should change the way I'm
Yeah,
doing it. Not so much all the time, but just a little bit, right? Just a one, two, three tenths of a second, right? Just that 1% better everyday mentality is another thing, right? If you can just do one thing a little bit better in one area, that's all you need. You don't have to search for 25 different areas,
yeah,
just one. And then that's kind of how I view it. Now, I might be in 25 different things, for example, but you take those 25 things and you calculate it and simplify it down to one or two things that you're passionate about. And then when you have some fun, then you use those other 20 plus things that you thought that were fun. You still try to incorporate them, but you don't make that the main course. You make the one or two things your main course, and then use the rest of that, apply that. And that's how you create your energy levels to be higher, but also your dedication and passion will naturally rise because you're doing fun stuff, you're creating stuff, and the art of creativity is going to be flowing. There's a book called The Art of War. I never read it, but a lot of people say it's a really good book because it talks about creativity like this. It really is an ocean. It can come in a tsunami where it's just like, oh my god, I got all the creativity in the world, and then it's just a calm day.
yeah,
Right. Sometimes it's just a calm
yeah.
day. I don't feel it, but you know what? Tomorrow could be the tsunami. You don't know. You just don't know. So you have to be very aware. I think self awareness is very key in anything, but
Mm.
entrepreneurship especially, to know where your limits and bounds are, and not cross those limits and bounds to where you start getting in trouble for sure.
Yeah. So I want to dive a little bit more into that because of this. It's a topic that I'm really interested in and I deal with every day, which is that self awareness, but then also keeping yourself, what's the word? Let's say metering your emotions to a certain
Grounded.
extent, because every day can be highs and lows, and there are some days where you feel like you're overwhelmed and you want to do a thousand different things, and there are some days where you feel like you can't find enough things to do. So I'm very curious in your mindset of how do you take the 25 things that you're in and simplify it to, okay, today's Tuesday. This is what I'm going to focus on. Tomorrow's Wednesday. That's what I'm going to focus on. How do you break it out for yourself and kind of keep yourself sane?
Yeah, you just feel like whatever you feel like you're going to do that day, you just do it. Really, it's simple. As cliche as it sounds, you feel like you want to do this today, you do it. Now, the key is, let's say I have the business, right, the energy drink business. The only way it's going to grow, for example, is if you meet people. So people will always be the common denominator. Where I'm doing. Let's say I have something. Let's say I don't know. I have an Uno tournament coming up, right? Or a commentary session. Those are not everyday material, right? That's just once in a while, but you still find a way to incorporate that, right? Just to know that,
Yeah.
hey, that's an end goal for a fun thing, right? It's a fun thing at the end of the day to do. So you still had that in play. and you don't lose focus of what the main goal is. But the 25 things you learn through the processes, right? If you, I'm not a big believer in just passively trying to do it. I'm a big believer in just seeing what you can do and then actually applying. If you just pass, it's okay to do it passively in the beginning, but as you start to get experience passively doing things, it works, but eventually it's just going to become too complacent.
Mm.
So it's okay to be passive in the beginning, but eventually you got to start executing on it. Give it a couple, I would say a couple weeks to do passive, and then after like 1 or 2 weeks, you feel like it's time to go, you
Mm.
go. But some people have a different window, right? Some people might say, I had no choice. I have to wait 6 months." Then it's okay. 6 months is fine. That's your. We're all in different marathons. That's your marathon.
Mm.
I have a different marathon. This person has a different marathon. She has different. It's okay. We're all on different paths. But to say 25 things and let's say 5 things, it's not. I think the biggest thing you could do is you start over compartmentalizing. Excuse me, to where you think, oh, I got to get everything done in one day, and then you start thinking about getting everything done in one day. It's just not possible. Even
Yeah.
if you think you can, the problem is if you do that, you're probably going to sacrifice something, right? So you sacrifice, I don't know, your health or your nutrition or your work or your fitness level, example. So you can't do 25 things in one day. All you can do is take a little bit of what you've done in those 25 things leading up to that one day and apply it, right? Maybe 20 of those things require having fun, or 20 of those things require a little bit of research and development, R&D. You take 20 of those things, let's say they're obscure, but you can still apply it back to your main thing because you have 20 other areas. So just give yourself options to know that even if you can't get to those 20 other things, you still have options.
Yeah.
There's always good to have plan A, B, C, D, of course, but it's always good to have option A and B. And then if you have C, D, E, F right there on the door, and it's just not working out A and B, you still have options. But you don't want to stress yourself too far. 3 or 4 is all you need for one day if you have other things. Other than that, you just enjoy it, man. That's it. You just enjoy
Yeah.
it, have fun, and respect it, right? Because that's the game of entrepreneurship. It's very level if you think about it. You just have to think that it's a level game. Don't want to get too high, too low. Just stay grounded, and you can start moving in the right direction. Because if you start getting your emotions the best of you, then it just doesn't work. You,
Yeah.
you, you realize that, hey, you know what? Maybe there's something that I'm missing because I'm letting the extremes get too high, and it's to the point where I think every day is like that, or it's too low. I just let everything go like that. You stay grounded no matter what the news is. Maybe tell a close friend, a family or two, but that's it. You just keep it small, keep it private, and eventually your actions will lead to greater things and heights when it does become public.
Yeah. I'm I'm appreciative of your perspective because it's a very positive mindset. And I can see how that can be very helpful. Even on my own day to day, where I feel like I have a ton of different things that I'm trying to do and I'm trying to squeeze them in, and I'm not following the instructions of the book, The One Thing, which I'm rereading because I think is a powerful book in terms of staying focused and staying prioritized on the things that matter. But I'm curious just because I'm trying to kind of let this infectious positive mindset seep in. Um, when you're having a day where you do pick one of those two things that you want to do, maybe it's one thing or two things, and you
Yeah.
don't get it done, what's the conversation with yourself?
Conversation is, hey, we didn't get it done today, right? It's going to sound weird. We didn't get it done today, but there's always the growth aspect of it. Maybe we
Mm.
didn't get it done for one reason, but we maybe saw something in that one thing that we can apply tomorrow. Yes,
Mm.
is it a little bit weird to perspective because I am young. I do have a little bit more time, yes, but at the same
Mm.
time, it's like if we didn't get it done today, but we got close, if we got 60% done, we didn't get the 100%, we still got 60% more than when we first got out of bed. You have to respect that. When I was younger, even younger, I mean, I was very similar to that, but by age 10, 12, I started to get out of that. I
Mm.
mean, it's young, but I started to really say, you know what, it's impossible. It's just, there's too many thoughts that go through a person's brain through a day. I believe it's 25,000 thoughts per day. And I
Mm.
think the average human brain is about 92%, believe it or not, negative.
Mm.
Only 8% are positive thoughts. So if you can just wire it to 50-50, then you're good. You know, like I said, you can't also just say 100% positive. It just doesn't work like that. It's
Right.
impossible to say, well, 100% positive or 100% negative. Try to be even as possible, stay grounded, and take the small wins in a day, right? Even if you don't get it done, maybe you got that workout done and it didn't really lead to anything, doesn't maybe lead to compensation, but it leads to better mindset for tomorrow, knowing that you can still get things done because you got one thing done. So the power of one's possible, like you were saying with the book. And if
Mm.
let's, I'm not a big believer. I'm not a big guy to talk about myself a lot, but I will say let's just kind of use a reverse psychology, right? Let's say someone in this situation, maybe one of your audience members is going through this. Well, what would be the most unbiased way to do it? Just do the simple things. Maybe you like writing, for example, right? Maybe writing is a big habit of yours. Well, that's journaling, right? So people might say writer's block, but journaling, if you can journal some once a day, twice a day, consistency. You keep showing up at the door, right? I mean, it's an old cliche. You keep showing up at that door every single day, and that's 90% of the battle. You'll probably figure out the last 10%. That's the great thing
Yeah.
is if you just keep showing up, being consistent, no matter what area or priority in life, you'll figure the last 10% out. And that's kind of how life is. It's if you show up every day or you'll show up at least 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 you'll get it done, and that last 1 out of 10 is just on you.
Yeah.
To understand that it's not always going to be linear. It's going to be like this. But you know what? That last 10%, you still can go rely on that 90% because the 90% got you to here. Whereas if you don't show up, you're probably back to square zero. Uh, you can't really do anything without showing up at the door. So you start showing up at the door more times than not, you'll realize that hey, you know what? Maybe there is something at that door, and then at that point, it's up to you to knock and have that conversation or that activity. Insert whatever here, and you'll move on, and you'll have a good understanding, and that's just experience. You just build on that experience. It doesn't have to be written down every day, but if you just take it, right? It's funny because like social media is one of the biggest things everyone says. We kind
Hmm.
of get to so used to it to where everything's on your phone now. That's all
Yeah.
information. All the storage is on your phone. And every time you tap those apps or tap a website, it's getting built up in here. It's becoming experience in there. You can get lost in the shuffle. So same thing with life, though. Sometimes when you disconnect from that, you do the same thing with life just through your vision. And when you start seeing those things through vision and storage, it's a little different type of storage. You have your instant gratification, which is like the social apps, for example, things you can get done instantly on a click of a tap, versus the vision, which is long term. You're
Mm.
seeing it without any screens, without anything, without any publicity. No one sees that except you and maybe a small percentage of people. That's the visions that will last more if you make it last more instead of instant gratification, because we live in such an instant gratifying world. If you can find that there's a little bit long term gratification delayed a little bit, but still balance out that you still need a little instant gratification, of course, every now and then as a boost. You can start showing up more consistently for sure. That's how I would approach it. If I just didn't complete one thing in a day, just know there's always other avenues that you could have compromised for and still create your success value for sure.
Yeah. No, that's, I really like, I really like what you said there. Two things that ring true as I think about my own experience in my own life is um, intentional rest and that consistency. With intentional rest, it wasn't until I like playing video games,
Okay.
and but I'm also kind of maniacal about working and being productive. And so what would
Oh,
happen
okay.
is I'd be playing video games on Saturday, and the whole time I'm playing video games, I'm thinking I should be doing this other thing. I should be doing this other thing. I should be doing this other thing. And it wasn't until I started thinking about video games in a more positive way and saying, hey, the reason why I'm playing video games is because I need a break. I need rest. And so the value that I'm getting from playing this video game is actually being able to recharge the system, because when I can recharge
Yes.
the system, I can be more productive. And so it was just that slight switch in my mindset to say, okay, I'm going to the TV to play video games because my body's telling me I need a little bit of a break. Let's give it that break, and then let's go back um, to work. And I have found that that has given me a lot more clarity and a lot less guilt. Um, and then in addition, like you said about the consistency, I think about I'm a big comedy fan, and I think about Jerry Seinfeld, and his whole thing is I write a joke every single day. I've been writing a joke every single day ever since I started this thing, and they're not always good, but it's the act of just sitting down, getting a piece of paper and a pen and writing down a joke that allows me to flex that muscle and not let that muscle atrophy. And so I really like that mindset, and that I probably needed to hear that because I kick
Yeah,
myself on the days where, oh man, I had those. If I had just gotten this one thing done, it's like, yeah, but you got it 20% done. So tomorrow's going to be a little bit easier. And I think that
right.
for entrepreneurs, you got to give yourself a little bit of a break, because you're not gonna always hit home runs. Sometimes you just got to take the singles and the doubles.
That's it. Singles, doubles will always get you to the triple, right? That's what I'm a
Yeah,
big belief. Even taking a walk,
yeah,
right, is in the
yeah,
baseball term. Taking a walk, like I said, those outlets with video games will help. Yeah, everyone has their own escape. I guess just to kind of my escape would be just playing basketball or playing a
yeah,
sport. Like I try to play or working out. I don't do crazy with the workouts. Workouts like pretty simple, just push ups and a little bit of high climber. That's it, and a couple air reps. That's it. I'm not the biggest guy. There's no point of me doing 300 pounds reps, so there's no point. But my best thing is just going outside. Right, outside is an escape. It's different. The air is different out there, and it's something I can just cleanse my mind, take a walk, or play basketball with buddies or whatnot. That's my biggest outlet. But those are once again helping because it's recharging my system, like you were saying. But it's giving me a little chance to do both. Right. In this case, is I could always bring a drink down there, and they can question me about that, which that's great. That helps business, but it also allows me to connect with a younger generation or an older generation, whoever's down there at the court or XYZ field, and I can learn from them, right? And that's just learning. It's just connecting through having fun is great. You're killing three birds with one stone. You're connecting. You maybe got a business inquiry, and you're having a great time. So that's the best thing if you can get those triples, and eventually that could lead to a home run, or even if it doesn't, even if it's just having a good time and just only as a single, just
yeah,
one singular thing can make a difference between a good day and just you feeling like a mad day. So that's kind of how I view it. And even if it is a good day, like going back to just practicing without preaching, you still you kind of contemplate a little character, right? You're happy in the moment, absolutely. But when you get back home, you reflect on and say it's great, but let's stay grounded, right? Because not
yeah,
every day is going to be like that. You can't just say, oh well, one day was great and then the next day is not, and then you have another day it's just kind of mad. It doesn't work. You,
yeah,
you need to, no matter what comes at you, just be happy, be present. Of course, it's important to be present in the moment, but when you get back home in private hour, private time, reflect. Still grounded. Still remember yourself. You're still grounded. You're still just one person. No matter what happens at the end of the day, you still got to respect that because the game would want you to respect that, right? The
hmm,
universe would want you to respect that and say, hey, you know what? This person really is grounded. They're not thinking about the XYZ or the macro, but just thinking about themselves in a good way, positive way, but also still staying present in the moment, giving people attention and time that maybe someone else couldn't. So you never know what people are going through as well. But going back to what you were saying, just to kind of wrap this little segment up, it's important to take those breaks, man. Take
yeah,
take that one day, video gaming, whatever it is, to the audience out, whatever you feel like is an outlet, your escape, use it, right? Use it. Use that old that cheat card, right? That's what they say in the fitness world. Use that cheat card. Take 1 or 2 days and refresh, because that 1 or 2 days can really be 10 steps forward. Because if you just keep going and you don't have one of those days, you could be, yeah, you might have went 20 steps forward, but you could be taking 20 steps back in another area of your life. And
right,
the biggest one would be most likely, if you're not stopping, is your health or just your mental health, or not just physical, mental health, and that could lead a toll, and that you don't want to go down those dark roads. So take those steps back sometimes. Take those steps forward for sure.
If you found this video to be helpful, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment. If you're an entrepreneur and want to share your journey and be helpful to others, please hit us up on our social media channels, or you can shoot us an email at behelpfulpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks. Be helpful.